Hello. Thank you for joining the Tampa Pardot / account engagement B2B community group in Tampa. Today we have a really cool presentation from a friend of mine who has come up with some very cool solutions specifically for account engagement, and this is one of his newer ones that is called Reply Intelligence, and it's meant to be a solution that is kind of like, if you're familiar with Marketing Cloud, the reply mail management function. I'm sure it's different and probably better, but I'm going to let Brandon explain that. So, Brandon, feel free to take it away, introduce yourself, and I'll be back here on mute.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ben, and thanks to everyone for joining. What this came from is a need to be able to do actions on more than just opens and clicks on an email. A couple of years ago, one of the things that happened, and likely we've all been impacted by, is with more email threat detection tools, automated ways of checking for malicious links and things like that. Open reports and click reports just weren't cutting the bill for several of our clients. So we had to come up with a solution that would give them insights to more. And the logical thing was to be able to trigger automations based off of replies from emails. So we started out by just, okay, what can we do with tools that exist? So we went the route of like a Zapier, and I've seen folks do things with Tray.io, where you can say, all right, here's my inbox, read an email if it comes in from this sender or has this format to it, do some parsing inside of Zapier, and use a connector to post it back into Salesforce or Pardot, what have you. That works to an extent, but where Reply Intelligence, where we realized that we had to build our own thing, is just based off of those limitations. A big limitation being one, being able to aggregate multiple inboxes to a single point. So you might have a client that has newsletter at, events at, North American events at, with different aliases. Being able to aggregate those into a single place was one of the requirements, and then being able to do it in bulk. So we created a tool for one client, and then quickly another client needed a similar functionality. So we really created Reply Intelligence in the beginning for clients who these are global organizations. They send out millions of emails every month, and they have tons of replies that are going to places that not everyone on their marketing team even knows where they're designed to go. So from working and building out some custom solutions for them, we realized, this does come up enough to where it makes sense for us to build a specific application to handle exactly this. And that's where Reply Intelligence was born. So today I'm going to walk through just a high-level overview of the application, what it does. I know that we're kind of short on time here. I've got till about halfway through the hour, and then answer any questions that might arise from it. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Go ahead and share the entire screen. Sorry if you see some duplication here for a moment. And then I'll just jump into the Reply Intelligence application. So in order to do this, we actually are hosting a solution. We've developed an application. And the reason why we needed to do that is because step one is connecting a bunch of APIs, and we need to have a server to be able to do that. We found limitations in trying to do this, like using Salesforce as a server. So we went with building an application. Currently, this application, what we'll call the public version of our application, lives on AWS, but we can host this in different environments. So the process is pretty simple. The first step is you have the idea of connected inboxes, similarly to what you would have with like an Einstein activity capture. So the idea here is you have different inboxes that you can connect to this account. Right now we have 4. We don't intend on limiting the amount of emails that you can connect to this, because it's not about connecting the inboxes. Where the processing power comes in is in handling the replies and how many replies that come in. You can add different users, invite different users, just like you would any other app. And the way that this works is we try to make this really simple. This is a very simplified version of what initially was a pretty complex application. We've got email types and email actions. So once you connect your inboxes here, you have this aggregated inbox. So you can see we've got this aggregation of all these inboxes here, and you can see what already is happening. We're getting a lot of these out of office replies here. I'll pop out of that, and we might need to blur some of that out for purposes. This is our actual account here. So we have this aggregated inbox, and then what you're able to do first and foremost is create these email types. Now, when we talk about the AI driven, that's what we have, these default types. So the first thing that we were wanting to do is use some machine learning to understand some key things that are just going to be general across everyone that's looking to do this type of functionality. What we've identified is the first one is being able to detect when it's some kind of a system message versus a human reply. And then if it's an out of office reply versus something else. Now, for the clients that we've been working on with this for like a couple of years now, we've gone much deeper. And so we've learned from out of office replies, there's different types of out of office replies. And the different types of out of office replies might be someone's gone for a week at a conference, someone's gone on maternity leave, someone's gone on holiday, what have you. So these are things that we're doing uniquely for each customer. But what we decided, or what we were able to take away from that, is there are some default types that we can do. And the default types is the AI driven. That's going to let us know whether it was a human reply or a system reply or an out of office, and then an unsubscribe request. Kind of like what your Marketing Cloud RMM does. But rather than feeding it only those keywords, we've learned that there's sometimes people mistype words. And so being able to pick up on those types of things is what we're really doing with that. Now, when we say flexible AI, that means that what we've learned is, in most cases, as a user, you need to be able to go in and create your own additional rules. So in this case, you see we've got our own additional rules that we've been able to add to this system in addition to the default types, so that you can have user-defined criteria in here. And adding a type, you give it a name, you pick your keywords, the body starts with, the subject start with, the sender email contains, and whether or not we're able to detect HTML in that body. So when you have someone sending their marketing emails to you, being able to define that it's a marketing email versus a text email was something that was important. You pick your color, and that's how you pick your filtering. So far, nothing too fancy. The idea is we have an aggregated inbox, and we've got some email filtering that you can add to that. Now, where the magic happens is on the action. So think of this like a poster, and what we really wanted to do was create a postman-like environment that was easier for marketers to be able to use. So for the example here, I'm going to use this unsubscribe request. Again, we can add additional filters to this unsubscribe request, and then we add requests. A request is basically the API command that's going to go out. So you can see right now, the first thing that we need to do is check to see if the person exists. So we're sending into Pardot and Upsert. Just like with Pardot, you have to send in the header the business unit ID, and then you send over the JSON body. We wanted to do it this way to give users the ability to leverage any of the Pardot APIs. You can post, you can get, you can put things like that. So in this case, what we're doing, oops, I think my thing froze here. Oh, there we go. Is we're sending in a JSON that's going to opt this user out, and then we're going to create an external activity that basically post to this unsubscribe type with an unsubscribe request. So that way we can see who's unsubscribed via an external activity and build a list for them inside of Pardot. The reason why we like doing it this way is because the use cases for this have just been expanding more and more. The more we're working with our existing clients, and then now that we've opened it up since Dreamforce to get demos from other people, we're learning all the different use cases that folks are looking to do. And so the idea here is making this flexible, because the external activities that company A might be using will be totally different from company B. Now, in the early stages of this, and I've swapped the form handler version out for this, but very early on, we were able to do this also with form handlers. And I still like using form handlers in some cases. And so the idea is you can, on that post, you can post it to a form handler and then leverage all of your form handler stuff to happen when it occurs, right? So the idea is in that post field, we just post whatever value that we're collecting inside of Reply Intelligence into the form handler here, and then we're having some specific actions take place. So we're going to notify Mike, our sales guy, for that, add them to the CRM campaign, and create a task, letting them know that a prospect replied to a marketing email and that they should follow up. So again, the idea here, really simple takeaway, is that we designed this application. It lives outside of Pardot, of Salesforce right now, but it does allow you to leverage API to post into whatever platform that your client is using. Obviously, Pardot is where it came from, but it also supports HubSpot, Marketo. We're still doing some tests with Marketing Cloud right now, and some of the other smaller groups, and as well as other tools like Snowflake. So being able to grab data from these replies and post them into Snowflake. I'll pause there. Very quick and easy demo there, and I guess open it up for any questions, thoughts, feedback.
Yeah, Brandon, I'm curious. The the overall, the demo is cool. What I'm curious about is, and maybe you could speak a little bit to, let's say someone were to say, yes, this is a great tool, this is exactly what I need. What is the level of effort to implement this, and what kind of learning curve exists to get it stood up? And then also, Bill has a question about what the licensing model is.
Yep, great question. So this started as an application that we built out for some clients. So right now, the customers who we're working with, they're on a managed service with us. So it's something that we've just developed as part of that managed service. We've got some initial pricing that we've been sharing in our earlier, in some of our early demos. We launched this to the public at Dreamforce, right? It was more of a timing thing. It was, hey, let's plan this for Dreamforce. Let's put this on an application. Let's host it and serve it somewhere. The pricing model at the high level is just, it's an application, right? And the application where we get charged is on a couple of things, is how much that AI is processing. So one of the things that we've done with AI is we'll have like an Amazon has some great machine learning library. There's also obviously OpenAI ChatGPT. Every time those need to read through an email, that incurs a cost. So there's this API cost that we incur. The second cost is just processing power on the server. So the way that our pricing model works right now is based on how many replies the platform needs to process. So far in our pricing discussions, and again, what we're doing right now is we're actually managing the entire business process for a customer. So when we're working with the customer right now, the way that the pricing model works is, okay, Mrs. or Mr. Customer, what's the business use case? What needs to be done? And then we're just doing it really like a billable hour with an application on top of it. Now, what's happened, and I think it's just because of my LinkedIn network, we're seeing a lot more other Pardot consultants come into the, this is very interesting. We want to get involved with this. So what we're actually putting together right now is a version of this that would be, okay, Ben, you're a Pardot pro, you know how to do this stuff. It's not Cypress doing this whole entire project for you, but Ben will sell you the license, and here you go. So our pricing model is based off of how many replies that the system needs to process. And it's important to call out that it's the replies, not necessarily how many emails you're sending out. We've found if you're sending out like a newsletter, most of the response rate is somewhere between 10 and 20%. So what we've been telling people is, 10 to 20% of your total email volume is probably what you need for processing replies. We've got a couple of micro accounts that we've sold. So a micro account would be processing less than 5,000 or 10,000 emails per month. Those are going to start out right around a couple $100. So our lowest package is a $495 package. Then it just goes up from there based off of how many automations that we're managing for the client and how many replies that are being processed by the client. What we're working on right now and what we're still defining, and this is just really a conversation at this point, is when we're working with other consultants that want to leverage this tool, but have us live in the background. So then you might have some clients that you want to support, and maybe you want to support them completely. So we can just support you in that. But it's typically an application fee, and the shirt size of that is going to be based off of two primary drivers. Is one, how many emails it's going to be processing, and then 2, how much AI processing that needs to be incorporated with that package. So I'd say they start right around $500 a month, and then they go up from there depending on how busy it gets.
Cool. When you add a new JSON option, how much code is written for you?
Yep. So the trickiest thing with that is the authentication. I have found that for because you know me for a while. A lot of what I do is teaching, and what I have found is that the JSON stuff is the easy part of writing APIs. The tricky part is the authentication. So the good news is we've handled that. We've handled that for you. So what we do, and I'll share again here real quick. Maybe. So what we've started building out for that exact purpose is this integration page. And you can see that you're able to connect and authenticate here. And then once you're authenticated here, it's really easy to go in your method and pick your type. You could copy and paste directly from the API guide in Pardot. We've got a HubSpot user actually testing this out. She's a marketer and is just using it for her HubSpot environment. She's not technical traditionally, so for her, being able to show that the authentication is handled made it easy for her to go and take a look at the HubSpot API and then post it to the API. And the reason why we're doing it that way is because just the variance of all the things that we're asked for. Can we post it to Snowflake? Can we post it to Marketo? Can we post it to HubSpot and Pardot? So the authentication, which I've always found is the toughest thing to handle, is managed for you. Then from there, it's just posting to whatever endpoint that you need to get the job done.
Okay. Cool. And then he said post to, and the question, post to Sales Cloud, question mark?
Yeah, so you can post to Sales Cloud. That's a tricky one because with Sales Cloud, you've got different objects that you have going on there. The use case for Sales Cloud, what we actually did, and I thought this was interesting, is we created a custom object, and we called that custom object a prospect object in Sales Cloud. And so it has an email that we can write to, and then we can create prospects, and then then they can have a flow that checks if there's an existing lead or contact inside of Sales Cloud. But yep, we can do posts into Sales Cloud. It's authenticated.
Cool. Let's see. So when you get, for example, a situation where you email somebody and you get a reply that says, this person no longer works here, let's say, does the system process and then output a delete message to Pardot, or is that something that you'd have to build using the output message from Reply Intelligence to say, set the do not email or whatever? How is that handled once you get an output message that is clearly this email is no longer valid? How does that typically work?
Yeah, so that's a good one because that falls into a couple of different categories. If the email is no longer valid and it bounces, that's going to be handled in the Pardot platform or the account engagement platform. But yeah, you do get those messages. I'm no longer with the company. Reach out to this person, this person, and this person. So what we do in that is we'll opt that person out. So unsubscribe that person. We do have the ability, you can delete that person as well through Reply Intelligence. So we do have the delete command. So you can say, take this person, opt them out and delete them, and then add an external action that says, no longer with company. So yeah, what you would do is that would be in that action step there. So you would add those calls into the action step and then do whatever you want to do with it. What we have found is not every client wants to necessarily do the exact same thing. Some clients might just say delete the person. Other clients might say, opt them out, but keep them in our database for whatever reason. So the idea is it's flexible based off of what that business use case would be. One of the other things that we've added from that is the ability to mine those additional contacts. So we've taught the tool to find like an email string. And so if someone is out of office, you do have the ability to say, okay, grab that other email, and then maybe we want to add that, alert a salesperson on that, post that one into Sales Cloud for that
Okay.
replacement person. Yeah.
Okay. So you could scan the email and say contact, and this so it would see that email and say okay, and then kick off, and then would it kick off a create function
Exactly.
in Pardot? Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, in Pardot or Sales Cloud, we're all experts here. We've all dealt with a lot of different clients, I think, and we all know that certain clients have different thresholds for following rules. So the best practice would be to post that into Sales Cloud, have a salesperson maybe get some consent, or if you are going to do a post into Pardot, I would say post it to a form handler with an opt-in message. Hey, we're looking to get in touch with someone at your company. Can we reach out to you, and give them the option to opt in or opt out? But yeah, we can mine those contacts and then create or update those contacts inside of Pardot or Sales Cloud, or again, whatever platform it makes sense. Maybe you just want to send that into something like Snowflake so you can capture that data down the road.
Another question: what happens when the reply is a very specific, deliberate reply, typically the initiation of a sales discussion?
Yeah. So again, that's something that we've noticed. So in the beginning, we wanted to have that as a type, right? We wanted to say, can we use a general AI model to detect that? But the challenge with that from an application level is what might be an interested or initiating a sales discussion for Brandon might be totally different from Ben. So what we've learned, what makes the most sense is saying, okay, if AI detects that this is a human reply that is inflecting some kind of interest, then Ben can add the additional keywords that's going to make sense for your specific use case. Do they mention request for a demo? Do they mention a request to find more information? So the idea is the end user is able to determine what keywords are going to drive a specific action. And then from there, that's where it's also fun, where we have conversations around, okay, do we want to send that into a form handler, or do we want to do an update via like an API? The form handler is great when it's like an intent. Someone says, yes, please send me more information, or it is like a very deliberate, they're interested in something, because a form handler is like, someone submitted a form on your website. So there was a really cool use case there using a form handler, but not like they're going to a form. The reply to the email is acting like that interest to a form. So that was a use case that we thought was really interesting. And for that, it was really built around like that specific intent. And that intent does change from organization to organization. And even within organizations, it changes from team to team as well. So the idea is, yes, you can pick those keywords. You can pick the keywords to a specific inbox. One of the other use cases that we saw was they're an Amazon reseller, right? An Amazon vendor. So if they get these specific emails from Amazon, there's actions that they need to take right away. So we can call out specific email inboxes. There's lots of flexibility as far as how those automations are designed.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we can leave it as is. There's no more questions in here. This is super exciting, and thank you for coming on to talk through it. This is something that's been needed for a while. I know there's solutions that have come out that have gotten part of the way there, but have not been perfect. And so this is it's always good to see another entrant into this kind of thing. So yeah, thanks again. And if as this continues to innovate and you improve it, and definitely you're welcome to come back and talk about it again. We're happy to have you, or anything else that you guys come up with. You guys are always building cool stuff.
Sounds good. And the other thing, we do like to innovate in this space. And so as you're seeing this, folks who are on this call, if there's things that you're seeing that would say, you know what, it's cool that way, but it would be better if, we had, maybe it's a pre-built thing, right? And that way, rather than having to do any JSON at all, it's just, all right, create an external activity. If there's things like that, let us know. And those are things that we can, potentially put into a product roadmap.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you everybody for joining. This will be posted up in the next couple days. Yeah, working on a couple more community group meetings to wrap out the year. So keep an eye out for those. But thanks again, Brandon. I will see you in a few days at Florida Agreement.
Yeah.
And anyone else who will be there. See you then. But yeah, thanks again, and have a good rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, etc. Bye.
All right. Thanks.